Hello everyone, this is Alina Khan from Tabadlab and welcome to our lightning talk on decoding the subtleties of women's relationship with technology. Current discourse on women's relationship with technology centers on improving adoption through removing barriers related to infrastructure, ownership, and accessibility. However, women's lived experiences play an equally significant role in determining what this relationship looks like. There are more nuanced and personal contours that exist in the ways that women, particularly in the context of the global south, understand, interact, and adopt technology. For women, broader ecosystem issues limiting digital access and adoption are layered with socio-cultural and familial constraints, which restrict access and impact the design and adoption of digital use cases, services, and platforms. Today, I will unpack the specificities which are critical in addressing the socio-cultural and familial barriers that women face. Our conversations and encounters with women reveal the gendered personal experience of technology through a series of focus group discussions conducted with women with varying use of technology in terms of frequency, access, ownership, and ability, and also discourse that emerges in consultations, policy roundtables, and conferences. An analysis of our conversations with women then enables us to draw a conceptual framework that depicts the intersecting complexities of women's relationship with technology. As you can see, women's behavioural, perception based, and emotive specificities lie within the triangle because they shape and are shaped by three emerging intersecting thematic areas: negotiating ownership, apprehensions and anxieties, and technology guilt, which we will later explain in the talk. And all of these exist within a wider framework of socio-cultural and familial beliefs and perceptions. Now, negotiating ownership and access, the family and the self. What is this? Women are subjected to surveillance and suspicion within the home due to the perceived threat of digital that is rooted in familial and patriarchal perceptions of technology as morally corrupting for women, since they can post their pictures online, have easy access to entertainment such as dance and music, and also interact with unknown men. The perceived consequences and reputational harm of women having a digital presence are often then cited to legitimize the necessity of monitoring women's online activity or become reason to keep them from accessing the digital space altogether. Women then create a distinction between the family and the self, whereby the family's needs and benefits from technology always come first. Women hesitate to attach a personal sense of ownership to digital devices because that would somehow negate the necessity of them. This is important to realize because having ownership does not equate to complete autonomous use and vice versa. Women tend to experience derived access, that is, access to perhaps a smartphone because it is a family phone and used by all members of the family as their only source of connectivity, which is also a limitation in of itself. Next is technology guilt. Now, women espouse narratives imbued with the sense of feeling the need to legitimize their digital consumption. Predominant smartphone ownership by male members of the family exacerbates the need for women to focus on the good use cases of technology, such as additional family income and access to online education for their children. Women then don't conceive of digital as recreational or as fun, and in fact avoid admitting to using social media applications like TikTok as it is not appropriate use. Women's understanding of what constitutes productive technological use is then shaped by a perceived guilt of accessing technology that is granted to them as a privilege as opposed to a fundamental right. This is important to understand because the simple choice of when and how to use a smartphone can be far more complicated and nuanced for some. It is then necessary in designing interventions to understand how choices play out differently to affect certain women's day-to-day digital usage and consumption. Now, apprehensions and anxieties. What are these? Existing under such a strong overarching web of societal and familial anxieties causes women to internalize these fears or find themselves constantly performing the emotional labor to negotiate use. It often results in a lack of confidence in their own abilities to use technologies adequately and appropriately. They feel overwhelming pressure to hold on to technology under the constant threat of it being taken away, which could result in them being left behind. This is important because women's comfort with technology must be enhanced in ways that make them realize they are adept. This can only be possible if objectives around improving digital engagement and skilling for women take into account changing the mindset of those around them who may have more control over regulating and monitoring their relationships with technology. Efforts to improve digital adoption by women should then be informed by deep and intricate workings of women's lived experiences and contextual realities, and recognize the subtle emotive and behavioral specificities of that relationship with technology. to ensure that existing gender inequalities are not reproduced or exacerbated, so the use of digital can become a deeply personal endeavor for women that can enable them to become active agents, build confidence and self esteem, and exercise an independent sense of self. Thank you so much.